Day. It is Ask a Flower Farmer, and it is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler here, and I'm so glad to be here. Can't you tell? I'm at the fulfillment center. I'm not at home on the farm. We have a lot going on today, which I'll tell you all about that. So I hope everybody is having a good ending to January and a new beginning on February 1st. I will tell you that here in southeastern Virginia, we're having like perfect cool flower weather. It's cold and it's raining, but it's sun shining in the afternoon. So cool flowers is pretty happy. And in fact, I planted some cool vegetables, cool season vegetables yesterday, just in time. I don't know who's trying to airdrop me an image. It's not a good time. Sorry, y'all. So it's just a great time for the cool season hardy annuals, better known as cool flowers, but there's also vegetables that fall in there. So yesterday I planted lettuce and arugula, some greens mix, some Swiss chard. I have some, a gourmet leaf lettuce mix. Anyway, so a lot of really good times, and I know we have lots of questions probably about cool flowers. So this is what today's all about. It's Ask a Flower Farmer. If you have questions about growing flowers, starting flowers, flower business, flower farm dogs, Tucker is literally at my feet. If you see the little bubble with the question mark down at the bottom of your screen, that's where you should post your question. That way I don't have to scroll through everybody's names and perhaps miss your question. So I would love to answer your questions. And I just feel like right now is just such a great seed starting time of the year. Y'all, if I am missing from the scene, you can usually find me just kind of standing in the seed starting room, kind of gazing at babies. And so it's really, really fun. And you know what I counted yesterday? I have 13 trays of stock. Does anybody else have a seed starting problem like me? I started all the colors in 2 different varieties plus one. And anyway, so I know y'all have questions. I don't see any questions down in the question mark. So while we're waiting for some questions to come, a couple of announcements that you just don't want to miss out on. First off, it was just released. I had a long discussion with Jenny Love on the No-Till Flowers podcast. Just went live today. It's all about seed starting, and it was just a great conversation. It's a long one. I'll tell you, it's about an hour and a half. Jenny and I could talk till the cows come home, particularly about seed starting. So that is a great one. And I just posted it to my stories, so you can actually hit the link there if you need it. And also, have you heard? Did you know? We have a new show starting today. Today at 2 o'clock inside the Gardener's Workshop Live shop app. We are doing another live shopping show. So if you all have never joined before, this is basically like a QVC type show, but it's all of our gardening stuff. It's like the instruction, added information that you can't get off the website. And today's show, this is only a 30-minute show. It starts at 2 o'clock Eastern time. It'll go for 30 minutes. And today's special, our cool flower seeds are 10% off. Plus, we have seed order only free shipping. That means if you just order seeds, there's no shipping. The shipping's on us. We're paying it. You can purchase other stuff. We have products. I won't be talking about them today, but you can find them inside of the app. But that'll happen at 2 o'clock inside the app. And if you don't have our app, and I'm not sure why you don't, people, just go to your phone app store and download Gardener's Workshop Live Shop. It's really a lot of fun. You'll find things on the app that you won't find on our website, and you'll find things on our website that are not in our app. So it's like 2 separate stores, basically. That's how we have to run it, too. They do not talk to each other at all. So that's really fun, and that's going to be going on for at least the month of February. We're testing the waters, and we know that there's, anyway, we're just trying to see what works. So check out No-Till Flowers. Join me at 2 o'clock today inside the Gardener's Workshop Live Shop. And now we have some questions for Ask a Flower Farmer. Let's see what we got. All right, let's see here. You mentioned very early spring was 6 weeks before last frost, but I can't remember. Is that hard frost or all frost? So that's a really great question. And here is the part that a lot of us, and I didn't either, I didn't get all this. It's actually very early spring is basically, for my definition, is 6 to 8 weeks before your last historical expected frost. This isn't like looking back last year or looking back at weather apps. This is like data that's collected over many, many years. You don't have to know all that. You just search engine last expected historical frost and your zip code probably, and it'll come up. Because you just have to have a jumping off point. We all know the weather's changing. You just can't rely on it anymore. So that 6 to 8 week window is 6 to 8 weeks before your last historical expected frost. And that's a hard frost. I mean, that's like 32 degrees or lower, right? But you don't have to figure that out, and don't get all caught up in that. We often hear from people that are like saying, well, this is what happened then and this is what happened there. And just that's why we say historical expected. That's like an average of the last 10 years. That's the best you can do, friends, right? So I hope that helps. All right. Baby bloomer flowers. My snaps sprung up and are 2 inches high. I put them under lights immediately. Can I salvage them, or shall I just pitch them and start over? My snaps sprung up and are 2 inches high. Are you saying that they've stretched? I would just get them immediately under your grow lights. No, I wouldn't pitch them. And good for you that you got them to actually germinate, which a lot of people have trouble. And so, if you're feeling like they're not healthy, then you can start some more. But if you just are feeling like they're a little elongated more than they should be, they'll probably be fine. Just get them under grow lights immediately. Overwintered feverfew, nice round bushy 5 inches tall. Should I pinch? I have never pinched feverfew. Feverfew is a natural really branch from the base, unlike like a zinnia that branches from the central stem. So no, I do not think you need to pinch. Somebody else may come along and say pinch it, but I will say that I get a gazillion branches and we have never pinched it. Oh, so Baby Bloomer says only one set of leaves on them. That's okay. I would just put them under lights and take care of them like you do everybody else and see what happens. I think you'll be okay. Let's see. My bachelor buttons are about 3 feet tall, afraid to thin, but do I need to? What should I look for? 3 feet tall, that's a little late to be thinning, but if they're too crowded, they are definitely, I'm getting ready to thin all of my stuff because it's growing. I mean, our larkspur is just elongating. I actually wished I'd have done it 2 weeks ago. I like to thin stuff before it starts that spring growth, right? But they'll just fall victim to disease and pests and won't have enough food and water, I mean, that's the big problem. So, and if you didn't net them, and they're that tall and you thin them, they're going to be very vulnerable to wind. So I would say do the best you can and take this year as a learning lesson. I don't know where you are, Josie, but you might want to plan on thinning earlier. Put it on your calendar, right? That's one of those jobs it's hard to think about because they're like outside, where you're not frequenting very much in the wintertime, right? So you'll just have to you have to kind of schedule your thinning time is what I was trying to get to. How do you stand out when you're surrounded by flower farms? I know the more the merrier when it comes to giving customer options, but how do you stand out? Well, you do want to stand out, but it's kind of like finding your niche. There are so many different ways to do that. Who is your market? Are you retailing? Are you selling to florists? Are you selling to supermarkets? Are you selling to boutique stores? What crops are you growing? Are you a field grower and other people aren't? What is it that you can offer consistently week after week that's in your wheelhouse? Where so many people fall off the wagon, I find, is they get some unrealistic expectation of what they can do, then they can't deliver on it. And I just want to say here, sometimes the absolute simplest solution is the best seller. People miss that all the time. Y'all, I built my business on just a few simple annuals, 25 years of business, by growing the best quality, having it consistently. They could count on me. So you just need to find your niche in the market that you want to serve or that you should serve. You know, that's something I talk about in flower farming school, is that you need to evaluate what you have, what fits into your resources, your time available, and then what's around you. Be realistic. You know, if you need to drive 2 hours to get to a farmer's market, then that's probably not a really good choice for you. You need to find other outlets. So being realistic is really a big part of that. And that's part of, in flower farming school, we talk about, you know, here's a snapshot at some different ways to sell flowers. And there's no end to that list. And then what do you have? You know, if you have small children, you wouldn't even think about doing weekend farmers markets or wedding work, because guess what? You work all weekend. That typically doesn't work out for young families. You know, they want to be doing other things. So that is what I say, is you have to be a standout, but you do that by quality and consistency and serving them. Will you be doing an open farm day this year? If so, is there a date yet? I never say never, because last year I said we weren't doing one and we did, but this year we are under construction still, and I doubt very seriously we are. And the way to not miss that is to sign up for our farm newsletter. You can do that on the homepage all the way at the bottom. At the bottom, I think, of every page on our website. Sign up for our farm news, and that's where all the breaking news goes. And that way you will not miss it. So as of right now, I don't have one, but that doesn't mean we're not having one. Lisa, can you talk about your sweet corn planting, seed trays, and target planting date? So she's seen pictures and even videos probably. So we grow a lot of sweet corn. We're always trying to beat the insects. Pest pressure is timed off of typically temperatures. So if you can get your crop of whatever to come in before it's normal, with some manipulation, to come in earlier than usual, a lot of times your crop will mature and produce before the insect does, right? So with that all in mind, we start sweet corn. We grow Silver Queen. That's like the family tradition. Tried to grow another variety once, y'all. It was ugly. Everybody could tell. It was bad. So we're Silver Queen purists around here. And so we use 128 plug trays with regular seed potting soil mixed with compost, just because that cuts it and makes it cheaper. And we put one corn seed in each, just like you're planting sunflowers, push it down under. And we target to plant them out when they're about 2 weeks old. We put them on heat to get them to germinate, and then they sit on the floor of our grow room, and under some grow lights, and as soon as I can put them outside. So our last frost date is typically mid-April. Used to be that we would direct sow the seeds right about then out in the garden. Well, we still do that. But in addition, the same time we're direct sowing that first direct seeding, we also plant right next door to them all these transplants. So we actually get that corn 2 to 3 weeks earlier than those that were direct seeding. And I'm telling you, we have 0 insect pressure damage on our corn. So that's what that is. It's the same way we do sunflowers. It's basically the very same way, same age. And so corn, it doesn't like to be cool, but because you're planting transplants, it just hits the ground running. It's really, really happy. All right, do you recommend growing tulips in crates outside or temporary raised beds? So I don't grow tulips at all anymore, but when I did grow tulips, I cannot imagine. We grew them in crates, and I know that if you are even considering growing tulips, you need to listen to the No-Till Flowers with Dave Dowling and Jenny Love talking about tulips. Everybody that listens to it says it totally changes the way they think about tulips and the way they handle them if you still decide that it's profitable for you. So I can't comment. I haven't grown tulips in 15 years, but I did grow them in crates. But I would definitely go with what Jenny and Dave talk about, and you'll find that. So you can go over to No-Till Flowers and listen to a couple of them. What seeds are you starting now? Harvest Family Farm is asking. So we're kind of still starting just a few cool flowers and a few cool season vegetables. So stuff like calendula. I mean, all of the cool flowers. The perfect world is that you would have transplants ready to go into the ground 6 to 8 weeks before your last expected historical frost date. You know, nobody's perfect, friends. You got to start somewhere. First off, I do not direct sow at all this time of the year. It's too cold outside. The seeds are just going to sit out there and wait, right? So I would be planting all of them. So we're planting now more calendula, more sweet William, lots of sweet William, straw flowers, tons of stock. I already told you I have like 12 trays, right? I have 12 or 13. A little bit of Rudbeckia, a lot of cool season vegetables, obviously. But all of them. Sweet William is a really big one. And, of course, we do Bupleurum again by starting them indoors in trays. And you can, if you're one of my students, it's in the course. And I've talked about it several times. Plug tray, moisten it, put 3 seeds of Bupleurum on every cell. Firm them, don't cover them, then turn another tray upside down on top of that plug tray and stick it in a cool place and don't look under the covers for 2 weeks, 10 days. And then when you do, they're going to be a bunch of them all sprouted, put them under lights and go about your business. We plant them all 3 together. Bupleurum is one and done for us, doesn't branch. And so that doesn't get 48 inches like our fall planted Bupleurum that I direct sow out in the garden, but it gets tall enough. So Bupleurum is one I'd be starting now. Dill, the carnation. Oh my goodness, y'all! The French heirloom carnations, Shabbat, is so beautiful. I can't tell you how gorgeous those little transplants are. So those guys are out there. Feverfew, tons of that. Straw flowers. So any cool season hardy annual, I'll be talking about them all inside our show at 2 o'clock today. All right. Sorry, y'all. I missed the X. Let's see. Can you do a tour of your seed room and talk about room temperatures? Well, I'm not where my seed room is. And if you go back, I mean, I think there's a lot of videos inside on YouTube. The problem with my grow room is the light is so blinding that comes in the tops of the racks this time of day. I mean, it's just not good videoing in there. So I would recommend that you go to my YouTube channel and scroll back through, and go way back, because our podcast, and we have 2 podcasts now, Seed Talk and Field and Garden, because they're now posted on YouTube. A lot of the videos have been buried in the feed. I actually went through it this morning looking for something, came across a lot of killer ones, so that you should be able to find that in there. If you have to use plug trays, do you use the soil blocking mix? No, because blocking mix is dense. That's part of making the blocks really hold together really, really well. And you don't want that in a plug tray because you want air and water to be able to just flow through it easily. So we use a regular potting mix mixed with compost. It's a 50-50 mix. That's what we use for our sunflowers. That's what I would use for corn. But anything, and we actually started a bunch of calendula in plug trays. It does really, really well. We started soil blocks and plug trays, and that seed is borderline too big for a small plug or a small soil block. So there you go. So I think the rest of this got, this one got left off. I'm getting started with seeds this growing season. Congratulations, Tammy. What would be your, and the rest of the message is gone, sorry. If you have to use plug trays, do you use, oh, I already answered that one. Do you direct seed in plastic mulch? If so, what flowers do you direct seed? Monique asks. So we don't use plastic. We use what's called, it's Bio 360. It is a 100% biodegradable film made out of a corn byproduct. We've used it for about 12 years now. And I do not direct sow. The only time I direct sow is in the fall of a handful of cool season hardy annuals that really prefer it and do best that way, like Bells of Ireland and Bachelor Buttons and Bupleurum and several others, poppies. And that's the only time we direct sow. I don't direct sow anything in warm season. Our weed pressure is way too strong, and it's a lot of work to get a good stand of plants out of direct sowing out in the garden. There is way too much stuff that can go wrong out there. But I'll be, honest and frank, as I always try to be. I'm just not a good waterer. I mean, those seeds really need moisture to be able to break that shell open and to pop. And then you have to wrestle with the pests that are focused, especially like young sunflowers that are just sprouting. Bunny rabbits people buy sunflower sprouts because they're so delicious. Well, guess what? Bunnies are right in line with that too. It's just there's a lot of reasons we don't direct sow at all. Now, I have direct sown out of desperation. Several years ago, I have a distinct memory of we had a bed that had already been made out with film on it. And I had Grace, my cousin, go out with zinnia seeds in July. And I said, Grace, we need to plant some more zinnias and let's just direct sow them. Poke a hole in the film like you're planting a transplant and put 2 or 3 seeds in each hole because who knows how this is going to do, right? Well, we did it. And here's the whole problem. While you're waiting for those seeds to sprout and germinate, what do you think germinates quicker, faster, and grows great? Are the weeds. We ended up having to whole weed. That's what we call weeding the little hole. When you plant a transplant in that hole, within a couple, 3 days, that thing is already spreading and canopy and shading out the hole, right? Not so with seeds. We ended up having to whole weed several times. It was so much more labor intensive, and then we had to thin, and there's just a lot more work. So I'm not the one to ask about direct seeding. I am a huge fan of transplanting. It's less work with more success in my experience. And that's coming from somebody that used to be a terrible seed starter. I think my question disappeared. After your delphinium and larkspur are done, what do you plant in that bed? Zone 7A in Virginia. So, there's no way to know about that. I'm sure it's different every single year. My book, Vegetables Love Flowers, which is really about a 3-season cutting garden, y'all, kind of shares the way that I do succession planting. I tend to for instance, for me, we break the garden up into thirds, 10 beds in each third. 1 10-bed group is cool flowers, fall and very early spring planted. The next 10 is the first warm season. The next 10 is the second season of warm season, and then the third warm season starts going into cool flowers because by then the cool flowers are starting to go away. So there is no specific, but the book Vegetables Love Flowers, if you're struggling, and I totally get it, but y'all, we make it way too complicated. It is so very simple, and I'll tell you, I'm working on a new book, right? Y'all knew that, right? I have a book in the oven, and in fact, I was doing illustration directions last night, and it was about this very topic, and it is so hard. We just make it so complicated. If you block out whole areas and say that's cool flowers and that's done, then you have a place for your first warm season and that's done, whether it's a 10-foot bed or an acre. And then, you just have to simplify it. So there's no specific, after any cool flower, a warm season comes, whether it's sunflowers or just regular branching annuals. Check out Vegetables Love Flowers. Actually has diagrams in the back that you can actually watch it go through the seasons to kind of get an idea of how that all works. All right, y'all. Trying to Preparing beds. After getting a soil test, we are needing to add lime and 10-10-10 fertilizer. When would you recommend mixing those into the soil? Now, okay, first off, oh, thank you. Rhonda just went and got Vegetables Love Flowers. I want to show this to y'all. These are some of the diagrams in the back that take you through. This is one bed going through spring, summer, fall, and winter. So sitting down and just with some time, a cup of coffee, and this is actually what somebody said. I saw this written on a review or somewhere. It said just sitting down with nothing else on their mind and studying the diagrams, all of a sudden it clicked. And I'm telling you y'all, once you get it, you'll think, why was I making this so complicated? We do that, don't we? And the world doesn't help us. It just really, all the internet noise really doesn't help that. Sorry, let me get back where I was. So first off, soil test will always tell you to use 10-10-10 because that's just a general purpose fertilizer. We don't use conventional 10-10-10 conventional fertilizers. We use a dry organic OMRI certified fertilizer, which is about half of those numbers at the most. And it feeds your soil, that then takes care of your plants and delivers it all to them. 10-10-10 just goes through your soil, will feed your plants for a period of time, and then it's gone, and in fact can actually damage the microorganisms in your soil. And so we aren't users of that. However, we always apply general purpose fertilizers whenever we're planting a new crop. Whenever you're gardening like we do, we're wringing the life out of the garden, right? So they can get depleted. So that's kind of a standard. Lime, if they say that your pH is out of line, the best time to have done that was last fall, to give it time to actually work before you plant. But the problem with doing any of that right now is most people's soil is too wet. You do not want to work wet soil, wet or moist. Pick up a handful, hold it out, drop it to the ground, and if it doesn't just shatter apart like sand, it's too wet. And that's why we say, do all bed prepping in the fall, even for very early spring plantings, because it's just too wet now. So I would say to you, you do those steps, although I would use organic fertilizer instead of a conventional 10-10-10, once your soil dries out, and then plant accordingly whenever it's time for you. In a best case world, that would have been best in the fall, but you do the best you can, right? That's what I would do. So that's what I would try, but it is lifelong damaging to work wet soil. You don't get over that. You create clumps and compacted little clods that just don't go away. We thought they did. I mean, I'm talking from firsthand experience, wanting to rush, do things when I wanted to do them, not when nature was, and it's really a problem. So Tammy asks, what would be your top 3 seeds to grow for a new beginner? Well, it would depend on what season we're talking about. We're gonna say it's really too late for cool season because that means you don't have a place to plant them. Probably it's not prepared. But for sure, it depends on what you're doing. But if I was just starting out and I wanted to grow something really successfully and something that I love and everybody loves, sunflowers, zinnias, and lemon basil. The lemon basil just lights up your bouquets with fragrance. Sunflowers are easy, and zinnias are easy. Sunflowers are one and done. But yeah, that would be it. But again, Vegetables Love Flowers takes you through not only the method that I follow on my farm, talking about not using pesticides and things, but also my go-to flowers, has diagrams, harvesting information. It's really a quick and dirty on a cutting garden. And the name, Vegetables Love Flowers, it's why vegetables benefit from having flowers, and then how to have flowers continuously present in your vegetable patch by having a cutting garden, right? So that all really works out really well. All right, one last question and I'm out of here. Your seed starting recipe calls for compost. What brand of compost do you use? There is a million different kinds of compost brands. So I'll use whatever is available at the store. Number one best compost is compost that you made and that's over a year old, okay? but most of us don't have that. I will say this. I truly believe that old compost, a year or more older, and you'll hear that in mine and Love's, Jenny Love's discussion, we talk about this. And worm castings is her go-to to mix in soil, fresh worm castings. But when you go to get your compost for your seed starting now, get enough for next year, and you just need to let it age. Aged compost is just mellowed out. It still has all the benefits, but you know it's fully processed. No chunks, all that kind of stuff. So I find that compost brands, bag stuff you buy at the store is very regional bound, meaning there's different brands all over the country. So you're just looking for something that is probably, it could be manure based. It could be, cow, but a lot of times we'll see cow manure. I prefer a non-manure based one, but you have to go, I buy truckloads from our city makes compost. So that's where we get a lot of ours from, but we always buy it, and we also buy it in bags. So you'll just have to see what's actually available. All right, friends, it's 1 o'clock, so I'm out of here. Remember to join me at 2 p.m. today, Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, inside the Gardener's Workshop app. I'm going to be doing a lightning round through a lot of the cool flower seeds, giving little tidbits about them. They're 10% off, and that's just for today. It's kind of like our show. This is the launch of the new show. So it's free seed shipping only. So if you just order seeds, no shipping to you, 10% off cool flowers. Although I'm going to have to tell you, I think it's ready to start talking about sunflowers, y'all. I'll be starting sunflowers. You need to get them in your hand. So we'll be having all of that 2 p.m. inside the phone app. And if you don't have our phone app, go to your phone app store, search Gardener's Workshop Live Shop, and join me then. And don't forget, take a listen to the No-Till Flowers with Jenny Love and I talking about seed starting. Jenny and I were friends on the board of the ASCFG. Then she did 2 great courses for us, Farmer Florist School, as well as Making Workshops Work for You, 2 amazing online courses that's available on our website, as well as we just love chatting about business. We call each other, we're the flower hustlers. And so take a listen to that, and I hope to see you guys at 2 o'clock inside the app. Ciao.